LEGO Racers begins with a serious, spine-chilling tone. Its opening credits are both threatening and pleasant, as it plays out with a beefier sound than I once remembered. Even though the formal introduction begins with horns of war, albeit softer. Before that, the infamous racing anthem blares out and anarchy ensues. And like any racing game, we have an animated intro that demonstrates some of the wacky antics we'll be getting into. Unfortunately for LEGO Racers, it demonstrates perfectly its problems right off the bat. The steering messing up, power-ups backfiring, and my personal favourite, face-planting into walls. The intro takes a break from this when Rocket Racer, the game's antagonist, arrives at a pit stop only to be served by the most incompetent mechanics you could ever hope to meet. After that, the nipple-tingling, eye-watering and oral adrenaline rush continues, and Redbeard laughs for no reason. Already I'm pumped to play this. I've heard what is quite possibly the best song in the game, and now for the worst. Now, it's not that I hate it, but every time I am so much reminded of the theme tune, I look as though I'm having a mild seizure. A. B. But Ugly Martian, Zoom or Die, Beano Town Racing. C. Crash Team Racing. D. Disney Magical World Quest Tour, whatever the hell it was called. E. F. Firebugs. G. H. I. J. K. Code Boogie Grand Prix. L. Looney Tunes Racing. There's no escaping it. The tendrils of this game's music have wormed their way into my brain, and I must succumb or die. Or I could just, get out more.
Let's grab our hankies and get down there!
LEGO Racers is kart racing on crack. Yeah, my arse crack, because even though the game is nostalgic and I once held it in high regard, I've come to realise that it isn't without flaws. After 20 years of rose-tinted goggles, it's time I let go of my delusions and look at this for what it truly is. The first problem, besides the one the intro was kind enough to warn us of, is the music. No, really, you'll not make any progress when creating your character and vehicle because you'll be too busy bopping the night away to the funky beats.
That's enough of that.
Okay, so that's just an excuse for its real first problem. Assuming you'll be making a character and vehicle, you'll be in for some face ache. The controls for this are piss poor for a controller, which I don't remember being so bad when I first played it. This is the one instance where I'll agree that a keyboard and mouse is better than a controller for a racing game. You see, because you're working in 3 dimensions and you're given a very limited view of your workspace, you've got to navigate the controls to rotate the camera and bricks, move them and place them. It's a lot worse than it looks, then again, so does Piles. I don't know what point I'm trying to make, just roll with it. Using these controls and the limited bricks you'll have to begin with, you'll likely make a pile of nonsensical poop. But that's okay, because we've all made nonsensical poop with LEGO. Some tend to grow out of that phase, mind I never did. See some of the cars I've made in this game. Or rather, the ones I've had enough patience and sanity to create. Now, there is always the quick build option, but I never go for that because it makes life too easy. If God wanted us to have patience, he wouldn't have made LEGO Racers. You get to train on a test track too, but considering all cars perform equally as badly, it's a very rudimentary tutorial track to help you get to grips with the game. Before that though, you can choose to create a character if none of the existing ones take your fancy. That's understandable given how lazy their design is, you can make any of them in the character creator, but they do have some fancy pre-made vehicles should you want them. Also, Joan of Cart is a bloody clever name, I must admit. Thankfully, the character customization is simple and offers a fair amount of customization. You can create robot racers, skeletal rogues, and proudly sponsor what looks like Castrol oil. Ha! Choose your avatar's name, mugshot, and now you're ready to race! On 4 tracks, and LEGO Racers not at all charitable with the maps you can race on to begin with, even in single versus or timed races. Combined with that infuriatingly jolly music, this discovery was maddening. I've not even started a sodding race yet and already I've burst a blood vessel, so while I'm going through the joys of internal bleeding, I'm gonna have to mellow out in the circuit mode. Or not, as I'd be cauterizing the wound with the body heat generated by how much it would piss me off! To unlock the tracks, you have to come second at the end of each championship. The higher you rank in a single race, the more points you can get, 30 being the greatest amount, second place awarding 20 points. In the unlikely event you'll score more points than the circuit's boss character, you'll unlock their features in character and car creation mode, and by unlikely I mean it's virtually impossible. Your place at the end of each race is incredibly important. Rank 4th enough times and you'll not qualify for the next race, let alone championship. So none of this is really helpful until I provide a context for my rage. During a race, the first thing you'll encounter is the controls. It manages to get one thing right, the speed. You're zipping along just dandy, but the game goes so fast that there's no need to drift. That in itself isn't necessarily a problem, but they still include a handbrake which will really throw you off if you're not used to other kart races. No, if you are used to other kart races. It's normally the case that it will throw you off if you're not used to other kart races, but yeah, if you've played any other kart racing game, and you have, you know, the instinct and memory, you're just gonna lose with your mind and the race, like I have. This isn't in the script, I'm just going bonkers at this point. There's enough friction to feel like I'm on the surfaces I'm driving on, which look mostly like rock, hardened dirt or tarmac, and that suits me right down to the ground. They took me about 4 hours of getting used to though. I can't stress enough how you've got to steadily steer rather than jerk the stick left or right just at a bend. Again, the lack of drifting takes some getting used to. Once you recognise that, you can start to have fun. Observe your enemies, see how well they control, and you'll realise that you can do the same. Almost. See, the AI is as perfect as it is aggressive. The moment they pick up an offensive or defensive power-up, they'll fire it off if there's any chance that it'll benefit them. Now, I've never been a big fan of spam in racing games, and perhaps it stems from this. The amount of cannonballs I've had up my arse is beyond counting, and that's just in a single race. You can expect to get hit about, 20 times if you're not using shields or speed boosts? That's no exaggeration, which is rare coming from me. You see, the power-ups themselves aren't the problem. Well, not entirely. Allow me to explain. There's 5 kinds of brick that you can pick. Red, blue, yellow, green, and white. Red power-ups are offensive ones, they use directly on other players. Yellow power-ups are utility ones, they'll slow players. Blue ones are defensive power-ups, consisting entirely of shields. And green ones are speed power-ups, which are arguably the rarest. The white bricks are where things get interesting. By collecting what the game calls Power Plus bricks, you're leveling up your items. A red power-up without a white brick gives you the cannonball, possibly the most powerful and easily most common weapon you get hit with. But with a single white brick, you can upgrade it to a grappling hook that will pull you towards your enemy, which sometimes puts you ahead of them. As you collect more white bricks, up to a maximum of 3, you can upgrade further. It's rare that I see the final tier of each brick's upgrade tree, what with me losing white bricks every time I'm hit, which is less than every 3 seconds. The most annoying of upgrades are easily the yellow bricks, with curses that can yank you back should you run into them, or a hex that reverses your controls for a short time. Some feature in levels such as Alien Rally Asteroid or Adventure Temple Trial. But the best power-up, especially for upgrades, is the Way of the Green Brick. The first 3 tiers are plain old speed buffs, but the final tier sends you through a time warp and launches you far ahead in the track. Think of it like a bullet bill, but less harmful and more blocky. Only once did I realise how useful the shield upgrades may be, guarding against the different tiers of power-ups, but even then it wasn't so useful that the enemy would just wait for the shield to die and cast their ability then. You know, it's a pity how frequent items appear given how many layers of strategy there are, and it doesn't help that this CPU is ruthless. It won't bank its white bricks for anything but red power-ups, and completely ignores the greens despite me finding them to be the most effective item. So that's my key to winning. If you've got a choice between any of the power-ups, go green. Why tank a lightning bolt when you can outrun it? But that'd probably kill the fun in local multiplayer. It's also not very sporting. I don't necessarily mind spam so long as there's long stretches of nothing to do it in, but when I'm concentrating on the tight turns, staying on the narrow roads and making more effort than should be necessary to avoid walls, that's when I get miffed. The tracks are what makes this experience hardcore. Not only is the margin of error dangerously thin, but contact with walls slows you down considerably. Hit them hard enough and the physics go bonkers. Then again, in Alien Rally Asteroid, they'll go bonkers regardless. The shortcuts won't protect you from this either. There's at least 1 per level and the AI's too tightly tuned to have any need for them, but it won't be enough to push you into first place if you expect to rely on them. Though I do recall them being immensely useful in multiplayer. Some require you to fire upon them, others work out a puzzle during the race, and some are easily seen but you're going to be going too fast to turn around and go through them. Some will also be unavailable when you get to the point of the reverse mode maps. Come the 4th cup in circuit mode, you'll be starting at the finish and racing backwards. I don't mean you'll be reversing, I mean that you go the other way around. Bloody hell, why is it so hard to explain? This means that there's only 13 maps, 12 normal ones, 12 in reverse, and the final one, which is where you face a Rocket Racer. The backwards ones, or whatever the hell we're calling them, seeing as they're not mirror mode, were the easiest in my opinion. Whether it's because I reached a state of zen or the maps weren't balanced properly, I haven't a clue, but I enjoyed them enough not to consider the reuse of these tracks a bad thing. I'd go as far as to say that more games should do things like this. I've played too many kart races where the fun ends after winning the trophy. And I know all about winning.
Eddie, it matters not who won or lost, but how you play the game.
Oh, you mean I won?
Yes, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, if it's so important to you, yes. Yes, you did win. I mean, for heaven's sake, Eddie, it's only a game. DVD. Why do I bloody lose everything, always?
20 years. For 20 years, this game has kicked my ass. But for now, oh now, I'd like to revel in a well-earned victory. You never know, this experience might become useful in 40,000 years when I race for the galactic rights for Gasmoxia. Well anyway, here's the most infuriating part of the game.
Rocket Racer's circuit consists of only one track and one race. There's nothing else after this. You either get into first place or go on the first dimensional rift back to Blighty. It was here where I wanted to pimp my ride for optimum efficiency, and so I won by using no bricks on my car at all. Now, I never noticed the performance differences between vehicles, but ones unlocked from the bosses always seem to control smoother. Perhaps it's just a placebo effect, I don't know. But by using no bricks, I was surely guaranteed that I'd suffer no handling, acceleration, or weight issues, and be able to beat Double R once and for all. And it was worth it, because R stands for our sake. I've said that quite a bit in this review now, haven't I? This map wouldn't be so bad were it not for the controls. You can take it steady and lose progress in its crammed corridors, or pinball your way through and hope that you get all the bricks you need. And the only bricks you need are the green and white ones. I didn't pick up anything else but those, except for shields if nothing else was available. I summoned a few portals, slammed into a few walls, and hey presto, I was blasted into the finish line. It's easier said than done though. The enemies here are a lot more patient with their weapons and will save them up to unleash deadlier attacks. Cannonballs are child's play at this point. You can expect homing rockets, pharaohs, cursors, and the highest levels of shield. Once you win, you get one of the most bittersweet endings ever. Not in the sense of Crash Bandicoot where you're told to go fuck yourself and get all the gems. I mean, you get a 32-bit fanfare and a still image telling you how great you are. It's not perfect, but it still gets you right there. Oh wait, you can't see where I'm pointing. Well, so much for being dramatic. At this point, you'll have Rocket Racer's minifig pieces, should you want to make him your bitch character, and you've also got his car parts in case you want to improve on it. And by improve, I mean screw it up because I'm still shit at making cars. Now that I've overcome one of my childhood challenges, I can finally relax and enjoy the game a bit. I've still got a few characters and vehicles to unlock, and the timed mode offers a few more hours of beating Veronica Voltage at her own game. So in terms of length, I'd put this down to about 10 hours of solid play. It's hard to say exactly how I feel about LEGO Racer's visuals because I have to keep into account the graphical fidelity capable on the PlayStation 1 and PC at the time. It's recognisably LEGO, and with that comes flat colours as well as highly detailed decals when applied to surfaces such as walls and flags. But if we look past the set dressing for a moment, you end up with unremarkable visual design. Beside the surprisingly extensive work done to shadows and lighting, the game is almost entirely forgettable. Without having played the game for some time, I can only vaguely remember things about levels such as sand, grass or rocks, but not the standout features such as totems, temples, ships, or the myriads of level hazards present. This isn't to say that I didn't have fun with a lot of them, but past the first 4 levels, I fail to remember many of the levels or their features. The characters all look good though, they're the most impressive and memorable things about the game. It's a pity how they all play the same way in terms of their vehicles and their styles as AI opponents. Props to whoever made the characters and the creation mechanics though. As for the soundtrack, again, I have little to say. A lot of it is just cacophony, hardly worthy of being called a jam session among strangers. The earliest songs are the best, but gradually worsen. Besides grunting and Redbeard's laugh in the intro, there's not much else to listen out for. I would have loved some of the cheesy voice acting from the Lego Island games. Finally, the sound effects never really amount to anything special, more often than not sounding comically lazy. In another game, I probably wouldn't notice so much, but this is Lego. You can't tell me that Lego couldn't afford a better sound department. In what I would consider a first on this channel, I could wholeheartedly recommend LEGO Racers entirely as a multiplayer game. There's not many maps, and without an elimination or battle mode you may be short on playtime, but I guarantee you'll have fun. As a single player game, I can only recommend it to those looking for a challenge in a genre that's mostly aimed toward children. You will have a tough time for both legitimate and stupid reasons. Despite my earlier anger, I am happy to say it gets a lot right. All of the items are useful and interesting, but they're brought down by necessity dictating otherwise. The controls are slick, but without regular practice and the instruction manual, you won't know the impact of your vehicle has on your performance. The circuit mode is fun, but the AI will pummel you into submission. Though I may disagree with a lot of the design choices, a lot of them are understandable. Putting aside my animosity once and for all, I'd say the physics bugs, collision slowdown, and having to unlock new tracks via circuit mode were the most horrendous parts of the game. With practice, the game gets better, but it sure tries its best to make sure you give up before then.
Until the next time, I'm Johnbonne, your #1 source for #2 games, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Now, if you'd excuse me, I really must get myself a copy of LEGO Racers 2. Ta-ta for now.
Ladles and jelly spoons, burps and gurgles, my name is Johnbonne, your #1 source for #2 games. Hope you're all having a pleasant time, and I hope you enjoyed that video. This is something I haven't done in a while, talking at the end of a video. I'd just like to first of all apologise for the lack of quality in the audio in this video. I've not had a lot of time to record this, and I've been trying to record larger segments of audio at one time. I feel as though I might even be developing a speech impediment, either that or I'm just too lazy to speak, so yeah, here's me trivialising mental health again. So, yeah, so I apologise for the lack of audio quality. I will do better next time. Also, as well, the script wasn't my best. I wrote it on the computer before writing on paper, which normally works out better when I do it that way. So, come the next review after this, I will be going back to my old ways to try and improve the quality. So, I just thought I'd do this for something different. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and you guys take care. Ta-ta for now.